Welcome back, friends. Or if you're new here, welcome into the deep. You're watching Animal Niche Channel, where we dive into the most mysterious, haunting, and shocking real-life stories from around the world. And today, we're plunging into one of the most chilling tales ever witnessed at sea. This is the story of Maris Ellington, a veteran orca trainer with decades of experience, a deep love for the ocean, and a bond with killer whales that few could understand. Until everything changed. In this video, we're unraveling the terrifying final moments of her life, the screams, the silence, the unanswered questions, and the dark secrets that may have led to her death inside a marine tank watched by hundreds. What really happened beneath the surface that day? Was it a tragic accident or something far more sinister? Before we begin, make sure to tap that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and invite a friend who loves true stories that keep you up at night. Trust me, you're not going to want to face this one alone. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss another mystery from the deep, the dark, or the unexplained. Now, dim the lights. Put on your headphones and get ready to witness the haunting final dive of Maris Ellington. Maris Ellington wasn't just any orca trainer. She was a legend, a woman who had spent more than 20 years in the world of marine mammal training and who was known for forming intense, almost supernatural connections with the creatures she worked with. To visitors of Ocean Quest Marine Park in Oregon, she was the heart of the Orca show, a smiling, confident figure in a wetsuit, commanding a multi-ton predator with nothing but hand signals and trust. But on one unseasonably cold afternoon in October 2022, something went horribly wrong, something no one saw coming. It was supposed to be a routine performance. Tourists packed the bleachers, children clutched souvenir plushies, and in the center of it all was Maris and a 7,000-pound male orca named Typhon, a bull-killer whale captured off the coast of Iceland over a decade prior and known for his unpredictable temperament. Typhon wasn't like the other orcas. Trainers whispered that he had a stare, cold, calculating. Unlike his tank mates, he never responded to affection, never initiated play, and was known to hold underwater for uncomfortably long periods, almost as if he was listening for something, watching. Maris had always insisted he was misunderstood. He's intelligent, she'd say, and like all intelligent things, he gets bored. But boredom wasn't the word anyone would use to describe what came next. At exactly 3:08 p.m., Maris performed her signature routine, a synchronized dive with Typhon. She raised her arm, he rolled belly up, and the two disappeared beneath the surface together. But this time, only Typhon came back up. Seconds passed, then a full minute. The audience thought it was part of the act. But backstage, the control team knew something was wrong. Typhon wasn't responding to recall signals. His behavior shifted, slower, more deliberate. He began to circle the tank. Emergency protocols kicked in. Divers were prepped, medical personnel alerted, but no one, not one single person, could locate Maris beneath the surface. It was as if the water had swallowed her whole. Investigation segment. The park went into immediate lockdown. Shows were cancelled, guests evacuated, and over the following hours, investigators reviewed every camera angle, every second of audio, trying to understand what went wrong. What they discovered only deepened the mystery. In footage recorded from an underwater maintenance cam, not part of the public broadcast, Maris is seen pausing before the dive. She looks down at Typhon and says something under her breath. The audio is faint, but after digital enhancement, investigators believe she said, "You're not going to do it again, are you?" Again, which implied it had happened before. What the public didn't know was that this wasn't Typhon's first violent outburst. In a hidden incident from 2021, Another trainer, a junior intern named Lyle Torres, was pulled into the water by Typhon during a closed training session. Lyle survived, but quit the park weeks later, citing nightmares and whispers coming from the pool at night. Supernatural theory segment. Some believe what happened to Maris wasn't just animal aggression. Whales have long been associated with legends, sea spirits, ancient gods, creatures older than memory. Typhon's name, notably, comes from Greek mythology, a monster who challenged the gods and drowned mountains. Could Maris have awakened something in him? Something not entirely natural? Typhon's behavior wasn't predatory. It was ritualistic, like he was performing something over and over again. That's not instinct, that's intention. The aftermath. It took divers 5 hours to recover Maris's body, or what was left of it. Her remains were discovered, wedged deep beneath an artificial reef, 18 feet down, in a space that no orca could have reasonably fit into. Her wetsuit was intact, her breathing apparatus untouched, but her face, was frozen in a look of shock. Not pain, not fear, but pure, raw disbelief. So what really happened in those last terrifying moments beneath the water? Did Maris misread Typhon's signals? Or did she walk into something far older than she understood? Was this the price of playing God with nature? Or did something use Typhon as a vessel? Let me know your theories in the comments. Was Typhon just a mistreated animal lashing out? Or is there a darker truth behind the glass? Aftermath, whistleblowers, and the deepening mystery. When the news broke that Maris Ellington had died a routine orca performance, headlines around the country called it a tragic accident. Ocean Quest Marine Park released a somber statement honoring her legacy. They held a small memorial near the tanks, lit candles, lowered the flags, but behind the smiles, something wasn't adding up. The autopsy that never came. According to Ocean Quest, Maris's cause of death was drowning, straightforward. But the local coroner's report was never filed publicly. No autopsy results were released, no toxicology, not even an official time of death. A quiet gag order fell over the entire investigation. Sources close to the family claim that when her body was returned, something was off. Her fingernails were broken. Her lips were pale blue, not from oxygen deprivation, but from cold, as if she'd been in water far below the 78-degree tank temperature. Her watch, a waterproof diver's model, had stopped ticking. At exactly 3:09 p.m., leaked employee testimony. The whistleblower, whose identity we've protected, worked as part of the tech maintenance crew at Ocean Quest. According to him, there were dozens of system anomalies in the hours leading up to Maris's death. Strange temperature fluctuations in the tank, audio recordings picking up frequencies outside human hearing, and the worst of all, the emergency. Recall beacon used to control Typhon? It failed. The orca wasn't responding, not because he didn't hear it, but because something was blocking it. According to internal logs, the signal was jammed from inside the tank, a phenomenon Ocean Quest later blamed on interference. A pattern emerges. But this wasn't the first incident, not even close. Digging deeper, we uncovered a disturbing pattern, eerily similar deaths and disappearances across 3 different marine parks over the last 30 years, all involving Icelandic captured orcas, all with similar behaviors: unresponsiveness, aggression during synchronized dives, and then sudden silence. The Ocean God Theory. Dr. Elena Rourke, marine folklorist. Throughout Nordic and Inuit mythology, there are entities, ocean spirits, that inhabit deep water. One of the more obscure legends tells of Veshalir, a voice beneath the ocean floor that speaks only to intelligent creatures. The myth goes that once a creature hears him, they don't answer to anyone else. According to Rourke, Whales and dolphins have been revered as messengers of these ancient oceanic gods, beings that reside not in heaven or hell, but in something much colder, much older. OceanQuest kept hydrophones, underwater microphones, to monitor vocalizations between orcas. But on the day Maris died, something else was picked up. A series of ultra-low frequency pulses, not from Typhon, not from machinery, but from deep, deep below the facility. Experts say the sound doesn't match any known whale vocalization. One audio analyst even described it as a calling tone, like an invitation or a warning. Witness testimony. 1 month later. I didn't say anything at the time because I thought I imagined it. But just before she dove, Maris looked at Typhon, and he tilted his head like a nod, like they had made some kind of unspoken agreement. It didn't feel like a performance. It felt like a goodbye. That chilling testimony was corroborated by others. Tourists who remember feeling an eerie stillness settle over the crowd before Maris entered the water. One child reportedly began crying, saying, "The whale has scary eyes, Mommy. He's not a whale anymore." OceanQuest shuts down Typhon exhibit. Less than 2 months after Maris's death, the Typhon exhibit was shuttered without explanation. The orca himself was allegedly transferred to a secure research facility, but no transport records exist. Animal rights groups have demanded transparency, and yet no footage of Typhon has surfaced since. Theories and unanswered questions. So, what really happened? Did Typhon snap, driven mad by captivity and trauma? Did Maris willingly sacrifice herself, believing she had unlocked something no other trainer ever had? Or did she make contact with something ancient and alive in the dark places of the ocean? Something that looked into her and called her home. The Whistleblower files, vanishing staff, and the Abyss Protocol. The public thought it ended with Maris Ellington, but that was only the beginning. What happened in the aftermath, behind closed doors, in restricted wings of the OceanQuest compound, reveals a much deeper, more terrifying secret. One that not even the trainers, the guests, or the family of Maris were ever supposed to know, but someone talked. The Whistleblower files. 2 months after Maris's death, an anonymous package arrived at a local news station in Portland. Inside, an encrypted flash drive, several photocopied documents marked confidential, internal use only, and a hand-scrawled note. They lied. He was never supposed to be in the public tank. The files describe something called the Abyss Protocol, a set of emergency guidelines for containment failure due to behavioral breach or metaphysical anomalies. One document outlines steps to follow in the event of contact communication between subject and subliminal entity. These weren't normal safety procedures. These were contingency plans for something they couldn't explain. Staff disappearances. In the 10 months following Maris's death, 6 OceanQuest staff members either resigned unexpectedly, stopped returning messages, or, most disturbingly, went completely off-grid. Dr. Shelley Moore, marine biologist, last seen boarding a train in Seattle. Colin Pryor, tank maintenance lead, never showed up for shift. Apartment abandoned. Imani Clark, public safety officer, found dead in her bathtub with no signs of trauma. The cause of these disappearances, officially unrelated, unconnected, coincidental. But every one of these employees had access to Tank 4, the enclosure where Typhon had been housed prior to public shows. Every one of them had reported strange anomalies in the days leading up. Maris's death, 12:40 a.m., heard knocking from the wall again, not Typhon, something deeper. February 18th, fish floating belly up in perfect formation, circle with lines. like a symbol. Why is there static on the underwater cams if nothing's broken? Saw Typhon hover in the corner, staring at the glass, not at us, at something beyond. One trainer wrote a single sentence across an entire page before resigning. There's something else in the tank. Deleted footage, unreleased dive tapes. One of the flash drive's files included a corrupted version of Maris's final dive footage, never shown to the public. A frame-by-frame restoration revealed something horrifying. At timestamp, Hydrolo 2.14, after Maris enters the water, a shadow appears just behind Typhon. It is not a whale, it is not human, it has no eyes. Audio at this point becomes unintelligible, but experts have noted a voice, distorted, layered and whispering in what sounds like Proto-Nordic. It repeats one word over and over again, Velkomin, Icelandic, for welcome. The Lost Deep Cell Research Division. According to the leaked documents, Ocean Quest housed a secret division known as Deep Cell, a subterranean lab meant for bioacoustic research. But former employees say it wasn't just for whale sounds. They were recording something else, something coming from below. Whale song patterns analyzed in Deep Cell weren't random. They were matching shapes, grids, coordinates. Typhons, vocalizations, when charted, created recurring diagrams, always the same shape, a spiral descending into a jagged pit. In one file, a note in red pen says, "He's showing us where they are. He's showing us home." Maris's final journal. Weeks before her death, Maris had begun keeping a private journal. Portions were salvaged by her sister, who refused to turn them over to the park. On the last readable page, Maris wrote this chilling line. "He sings to someone in the dark. I think they're starting to sing back." She then drew a crude image, an orca circling a black spiral, a single arrow pointing downward labeled "no bottom," a whale's mind, or a doorway. Whales are some of the most intelligent creatures on the planet. Their brains are massive. Their communication systems are thousands of times more advanced than ours in complexity. And yet, there are things even science can't quantify. Why would an animal with no known history of unprovoked violence suddenly turn deliberate? Was Typhon just a creature being pulled by something beyond comprehension? Or was he the host? We've spoken to experts, tracked the documents, listened to the hidden recordings. And what we're left with is a question more terrifying than the event itself. What happens when the abyss stares back? The diver who survived, the abyssal glyphs and the listening stations that went silent. They say the ocean keeps its secrets, but sometimes it tries to speak. In frequencies we don't understand, in shadows that ripple just beneath the surface. In moments, like the death of Maris Ellington, that force the world to look into the abyss and see that something is already looking back. The last diver into Typhon's tank. He was called Delta Unit 3 in the files, a deep-sea welder and dive technician contracted by Ocean Quest to investigate the structural integrity of Tank 4. This was 3 days after Maris's death. According to the records, the job was simple. Check for cracks in the tank's reinforced acrylic, but what he found wasn't structural. Delta Unit 3, distorted voice. I was maybe 15 feet down. Lights were low. You could still smell the blood in the water. I thought I saw movement, but Typhon had been isolated. The tank was supposed to be empty. Then I heard it, not whale song, something like humming, but in a voice like static underwater, and then my tank lights cut out. Delta Unit 3 continued. That's when I saw them, glyphs, like they'd been carved into the glass. Long spiral lines, circles inside of circles. I didn't put them there, no one could have from the outside, but they were glowing, like heat signatures. Delta Unit 3 never completed the inspection. He quit on the spot. Later, his dive. Logs revealed he recorded 48 minutes of audio on his underwater comms. Only 6 seconds were usable, the rest screaming not his own. The abyssal glyphs, language or warning. Experts brought in to examine the symbols described them as proto-linguistic, not random markings but deliberate formations. Each design seemed to build upon the last, forming a sequence, a progression, but toward what? One cryptographer, Dr. Ren Alcott, made a disturbing connection. The glyphs bore eerie similarity to sonar renderings taken from a trench, system 130 miles west of Ocean Quest's coastal border. A trench never fully mapped, known only as Z13. Quote from Dr. Alcott, "These are not just marks, they are coordinates, directions, and the Orca. It's either the messenger or the map." The listening posts that went dark. Around the same time the glyphs were discovered, something else happened. Something that was quietly buried in defense logs and no AA reports. 4 underwater listening posts, part of the US Navy's SOSUS sound surveillance system, went completely offline within 6 hours of each other. Each failure pointed toward the same approximate epicenter, the Z13 trench. Narration. 1. Report noted that before the blackout, the posts recorded a sustained ultra-low frequency tonal structure. Not just a noise, a pattern, one that matched Typhon's last vocalizations before Maris's death. The audio file was pulled from public release, but insiders say it ended with a single, incomprehensible phrase, digitally buried under layers of whale song and background distortion. But one scientist claimed to have deciphered it, his note scribbled on a napkin hours before disappearing. It says, "Release the anchor, he wakes." The hidden footage, Maris left behind in a final twist no one expected. Maris Ellington left behind something far more damning than a journal. She left video. Her personal dive cam, labeled only as Siren Avi, was never turned into Ocean Quest. Her sister discovered it hidden behind a false panel in her old locker. The video is grainy, the audio crackles, but what we see is unmistakable. Typhon circling in complete silence, eyes fixed on the wall, not Maris. He rises slowly, and then he sings. But it's not a whale's cry, it is melodic, chilling, almost human. Then Maris speaks. She says one line that chills even now. Maris Ellington, on video. "He's not alone in there, and I don't think I ever was." The Echo incident, the child who drew the same symbol. And just when you think this story couldn't get any stranger, it did. A child who visited Ocean Quest 2 weeks after Maris's death was taken to the hospital after having a seizure while watching Typhon float in complete stillness. Upon waking, she asked for paper and crayons. She drew the spiral, the same one found in the tank, the same one in Maris's journal. When asked what it meant, she whispered one word: home. What is Typhon? Marine biologists say orcas are among the smartest creatures on Earth. But what if we were wrong? What if Typhon isn't entirely earthbound? What if his song is not a call, but a response? The glyphs, the trench, the ultra-low frequencies, the vanished staff, the secret recordings, the distorted voices in dive logs, all of it points to something larger, something sleeping in the deep, and now, perhaps awakening. Typhon wasn't a code word. It wasn't a drill protocol. It wasn't anything anyone in the Seabright Oceanarium had ever heard before. And that made it worse. Far worse. When head trainer Alan Ridge asked the tech team why they broadcast a non-existent term over the emergency PA system, none of them claimed responsibility. In fact, the system log showed no manual override.